welcome to another edition of Tuscaloosa Talks. I'm here with a Tuscaloosa legend, especially when it comes to the downtown scene, the downtown vibe. Hunter, how you doing, man?
Doing well, man. How you doing this evening?
Doing good. Hunter, glad to have you. Hunter Wiggins here, the owner of Sessions, the guy that really, another one of those young entrepreneurs who planted a flag in downtown and is doing something great and is expanding into Auburn. Hunter, before we get started, how's your mom doing? I know was a legend at Para, has retired. How's she doing?
She's doing great. She's had some much needed rest and relaxation, especially after raising 3 boys for the majority of her life and dealing with us growing up and getting us out of the house. And over the last 12 years, been able to work hard and make her imprint in downtown Tuscaloosa, and finally threw it all in and said, it's time to spend some time on myself and enjoy the rest of my life. And I'm really proud of her for what she's been able to do, being a good friend and a good mentor. And she deserves to have the next 20 years of her life to be the best 20 that she can have. And
she's absolutely earned it and did a fantastic job at Para. And I know it's been a driving influence for you, as you just mentioned. Okay, we're here at Sessions. It's one of the cool places in Tuscaloosa. And you were telling me earlier you can't take reservations, which is a really cool thing because this place is always packed. How'd you get the idea to do something like this? And first off, too, why don't we do this? For those that may not be familiar with Sessions, a very small few, tell a little bit what Session is, and then how did you get the idea for this?
So at our core, what we are a cocktail bar that focuses on classic and modern classic cocktails. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to make these drinks that over the last 150 years, the classic ones and the modern classic, which is anything since about 2000, late 90s, that has come about. And what that means typically can be picked up at any bar. The majority of the cocktails you see on our menu, what we wanted to do is we wanted to design it to where when you came here and got a drink, if you wanted to go to cocktail bar in XYZ in Atlanta, Nashville, Birmingham, you should be able to order this drink as well. So we do a couple in-house creations, but in our core we wanted to make sure we were getting a product to the consumer base of Tuscaloosa, so they went and traveled other places. They felt familiar going to cocktail bars in other cities. So I kind of got the idea. I'd been attending bar in Tuscaloosa working in bars since I was 19. I started washing dishes at Will Hagen's for Bill Lloyd when it was still over there, and kind of fell in love with working in the nightlife. It's a little more fun than working lunch shift during a restaurant. And so I kind of had an idea at a young age that I was going to own and operate some sort of bar, hospitality industry establishment. And at 22, I ended up getting a gig at a late night bar that at the time, this was when all those really cool books were coming out. They were talking about the cocktail revolution coming out of New York, Seattle, San Francisco. And I bought one called The Bar Book by Jeffrey Morgenthaler. And the bar I was working at, they had a lot of these really unique ingredients that the book talked about, like Campari and vermouth that wasn't Martini Rosso, and they actually had rye and bourbon instead of just Kentucky Gentleman straight blended whiskey. So got to start playing around with those, and that's when I said, I want to make awesome drinks for awesome people. And that's still been our core business philosophy since day one. And I kind of knew there was a need for a more higher end establishment, something that people were going to Birmingham they were eating dinner in Birmingham, but they were going to go to get the product from the cocktail bars. They were going up there. They would say, we're going to drink, but while we're up there, we'll get dinner as well. So I knew that if we could create a space that attracted a certain kind of demographic that really wasn't coming out, because these people were drinking and eating at restaurants, but they really weren't going out afterwards, that if we could create a space that was professionally run with professional people, it would attract a professional clientele. And that's kind of been our whole basis in our philosophy, and part of that is if we're going to be professional, we need to make sure that when you come in, when you spend your money here and your time and your energy, because you're choosing to come here. I didn't come out here and drag you in. You're willingly coming here. We have to make sure that your experience is the best experience you can have. It's one of our 3 uniques as a business is creating VIP hospitality. So that's why we don't overcrowd the bar room. We make sure that we have a 5-step process that we operate by. We greet you emphatically. We seat you. We identify how many people are in your party and seat you correctly. We serve you. We give you VIP tailored service at your table. We have a server come to you. We make your product free of defect in a timely fashion and always with consistency. And then we thank you emphatically for coming in when you walk out the door. And we knew that if we paired a proven process with people that had great core values and had to get it the one at the capacity to do the job, that it was going to attract that professional clientele that we were really shooting for. What we didn't realize, though, is how many great out-of-state students that we were also going to be attracting. And that's something that's a lot different than when I was bartending in Tuscaloosa. These kids are coming in and know what Pappy Van Winkle is and what vermouth they want in their martini, and calling classic, know the difference between French and English rum. So it's really kind of awesome to see that as well. And, that's to say how Tuscaloosa's grown and changed, and the way our downtown scene is evolving with, a lot of these eclectic kind of establishments that maybe wouldn't have worked 10 years ago would really thrive in the downtown area.
All right, so what's the most probably sought after drink in here? Is it the old fashioned?
So our three top selling cocktails are going to be our old fashioned, and then our tea time, which is going to be a house infused Earl Grey Tito's vodka, lemon and honey. And then our third one is every single month we do what we call a Cocktail for a Cause program. So 12 months out of the year, we work with 12 different charities. We design a drink, we sell the drink, and whatever we donate to the charity, Tito's Handmade Vodka will match our donation.
Really?
So we've been able, last year I think we raised just shy of $25,000 for local charities within the downtown area. So those three cocktails are always our best selling cocktails.
But there's no doubt, just listening to you, why you're so successful. Off the air, you were telling to me just about the seriousness which you take the serving of alcohol. Making certain that everyone is safe when they come in here. And I was even kidding you about, you don't really drink at work. I mean, you can't. And you were talking about, well, you can't drink on the line at Mercedes. You can't drink when you're at work. Talk about how serious you take the fact of you serving alcohol and making sure that everyone comes in is safe, and when they leave, they're safe.
Yep. So it's very serious. And I think that it's been synonymous in our industry. And I think that's one of the things we want to do is buck the trend when we opened up here that, being a bar owner and a bar, you can be a great portion of the community and an establishment people really are proud of and they talk about. And it's so synonymous with drinking and serving alcohol behind a bar, especially from the age demographic from 20 years ago. They walk in a bar and it's just common that the bartender's drinking shot for shot with the people that are drinking at the bar. And the reason I use the analogy working at Mercedes with heavy machinery is because it is that serious. Because when you become inebriated behind the bar and you don't have the wherewithal to make the correct decisions on whether this person needs to be cut off, you need to get with their friends to get them an Uber, and they get in a vehicle and they drive down the road and they hurt somebody, that's on you because you're the one fueling that heavy piece of machinery that's going out of control. So it's something that, we have a zero tolerance policy on. And that's, once again, kind of going back to creating that professional establishment that, that's the kind of clientele that we wanted. We didn't want the kind of clientele that wanted to go into a bar and drink with the bartender.
Well, tell again, an off-air conversation. We'll move over into the on-air conversation. You're telling me you're getting ready to open up a new business in a city somewhere in southeast Alabama. What's that city?
So we're opening up in Auburn, Alabama.
That's it, Auburn, Alabama. That's all. They have a college there or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Talk about, though, in all seriousness, talk about what you're planning to do in Auburn.
So it's been a really, really fun journey, and I'll kind of preface this with, I always knew that we were going to open up another establishment, and something happened last spring, not this past spring, but the year before in 2021, spring of 2021. And we had all these great people from all these other cities saying, hey, if you're interested in franchising, you're interested in opening in this city, I want to be invest. And that's when I said, we have a really good special culture that we've cultivated here and an awesome product that is more on the niche side. And I said, let's try and, instead of trying to open up something else in Tuscaloosa, let's try and take what we've done, streamline our systems, our processes, continue to develop our culture, and drop it into another market. Well, when I said, what's the most similar market to Tuscaloosa in the state of Alabama, everybody's like, go to Birmingham. I said, well, Auburn's probably that market. And went down there and spent a couple of days. I said, this is where we need to go from a SEC football standpoint, tailgating, bid day, which we just had here, how you have to navigate summertime, spring break, Christmas. Tuscaloosa, everybody thinks that December sucks in Tuscaloosa. It's amazing because everybody from Tuscaloosa comes back And
Yeah.
they all go out for Christmas because nobody wants to spend time with their family for more than about 3 hours. So in Auburn's the
Please
same way.
send cards and letters.
Yeah, that's
100
exactly
Wiggins
right.
at Sessions. Okay, go ahead.
So, but I said, I got a great group of people here. I got a great core group that have been with me from the beginning. And I sat them down and I said, guys, I mean, what do y'all want to do? Because I kind of want to take this project as far as it can go. So we said, let's open in Auburn, Alabama, and let's try and open 10 session bars in 10 SEC towns in 10 years. And that's our big, hairy, audacious goal that we're going to try to accomplish. And I know that we can do it because we have a great core group that have really bought in, see the vision, and we're all providing traction to making this whole wheel turn.
Well, there's no doubt what you've done here in Tuscaloosa has been phenomenal, and you're talked about and so positively throughout the community. But you opened in a very difficult period. If my memory serves me correct, you opened up, and then immediately we enter into a pandemic.
Yeah.
You must have just felt snake bitten at that point. How did you manage to get through that?
So, I've never really dealt with anxiety or losing sleep
Yeah.
at night. I mean, just from talking to me, getting to know it doesn't happen. But I had a lot of sleepless nights. Something you work so hard for because this project was something that I sacrificed a lot of my 20s for, from 22 to 29 and a half until the day we opened our doors for 7.5 straight years. All I did was work and study and try to make sure I made the right thoughtful decisions so to put myself in the best position to be successful. And to open up and have the kind of success we had, because we opened up and just guns a-blazing right out the gate. And then 5 months later to have something outside of your control be the reason that you were shutting down. I think that if you didn't have any sort of uneasy feeling, you're probably the next Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Because I think it takes a special kind of psychopath to not get that sort of anxiety.
But what was impressive to me about you was, and I remember the meetings we were having with different owners of different segments of the economy, you were under a terrible amount of pressure, but you were always professional, came to the table with ideas. If you were under that stress, you never showed it to City Hall. And I thought you were always very constructive. In fact, there were hard decisions having to be made a couple of blocks over that impacted you directly. And if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't be happy either. And I just always admired how you took it. I thought this guy is going to make it because he understands the bigger picture, and you approach things with solutions. And that's a hell of a quality, and I wanted you to know that.
Thank you very much. Well, I got to say that I read a book when I was in my early 20s, late teens, and it was called the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And it was about Stoicism, and one of the founding
About Marcus
principles-
Aurelius from
the Greek
Yeah.
Roman emperor.
2,000 years ago.
Yep. And he wrote a book called Meditations, and one of the Stoic principles is called the dichotomy of control. You spend energy on things you can control, and if you can't control it, it's wasting energy, and you don't need to worry about it. And so when you accept, as any good person, I had ups and downs, but I always kept coming back to these Stoic principles that said, it's out of my control. So let's only spend our time and energy on the things that we can control. So what can we control? We can control how we can operate when we get back open. We can control how we make sure that we maintain our staff when we're open. How can we make sure our customer base is as safe as possible? But for everything else, I couldn't control it. So, we just had to put our energy in the right place. Instead of, the sun creates so many billions of whatever of energy, but it's all everywhere. But you can take a tiny little light and put it through a magnifying glass, and it can burn a hole in your skin. Because if you get concentrated, you only focus on what you're supposed to be able to control.
I tell you what, your next life and your next professional life, you ought to just go teach philosophy. I mean, and leadership. That was really terrific, because we do oftentimes, we see this in politics and governance as well. There are things you can't control, and to waste time on that just sucks your energy.
That's right. And you can't let it affect you, especially when at that time, I had 20 kids and young men and young women that relied on me to make sure that we continue to do what we set out to do, and that's what meant so much to me. That's what meant so much to me as an owner, that I had such great people that saw at an early time a vested interest in this business, and they wanted to be a part of creating this great downtown establishment. So I got to give a lot of kudos and a lot of really thanks to my original staff, some of which are still with me today, for sticking along. But you just can't control it, and to let that energy get sucked out of you, it's being wasted. And if you can get everybody rowing in the same direction, all focused on the same thing, you can conquer and take over every market. And I feel that that's what was you talk about testing your leadership skills, is coming through that is, that was my generation's Pearl Harbor almost.
Yeah.
And it's my Stillwater paradox. It's the idea that something so bad happened that we made it through it, which leads me to going back to, I said, if we can make it through COVID, then we can go conquer the whole southeastern parts of the United States.
And I have no doubt, just sitting here with your energy, you can do it. And I'll add one thing, and I had this conversation with someone earlier today who was a part of our incident command going through April 27, 2011 tornado. I said, the tornado was more emotionally difficult for those first couple of months, but nothing compares to COVID. The COVID pandemic, there was no playbook. There was nothing to rely on, and so much information out there. You didn't know how much to rely on, and even the correct information this week would be incorrect the next week. And so I can't imagine from your perspective as a business owner, but you handled it, and now look at the success. And I just want you to know the city of Tuscaloosa Hunter is very proud of you. I can't wait to see how your story unfolds. And this is not me blowing sunshine. I want you to know this. The reason why we feel very comfortable in moving forward with Saban Center, Event Center, and all the things downtown is because we know for every dollar we spend, there's going to be entrepreneurs like you that are going to spend $3, $4, and $5 more to create great establishments like this. And it's because of your courage, your success, that we're going to do more, which means Tuscaloosa will do more. Hunter, thank you for joining us on Tuscaloosa Talks. I want to encourage everyone out there, if you haven't been to sessions, get down here, have an old fashioned. What else? What is tea time? Have it. Now
we fun fact. We had we have a great, to highlight some other great people in our community. Our sports and tourism team, and we have a great crew down there, and they always do a great job when having things in town of sending people here.
Yeah.
And they do a great job promoting the downtown area in general. And we had a couple come in that was doing a travel blog that told me they spent 2 weeks traveling across the state of Texas looking for the best Paloma in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And they pulled me aside and said, I just want to let you know that your Paloma is the best Paloma we ever had in the state of Texas. So if you're looking for a good Paloma, I've been assured that we not only have a good Paloma, we have the best one in the state of Texas.
We beat them on the football field. We beat them. We beat them when it comes to the appropriate drink. I'll also say that what you did for the Big Ten mayors when we hosted them, the next morning, so many of them talked about the old fashions. They had never had anything like that, and they were so impressed. And I know the mayor of Auburn also was where you're going. He texted me, and he was very excited that you were coming down there.
Well,
so.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be down there, because I get to follow my passion, get to do what I love to do, which is to go open up bars in new markets, get to meet new people and develop awesome relationships, and still have the opportunity to, the fun part of owning bars in college towns is you get to mentor young people, and you get to help young people be successful. And that's the exciting thing is we get to grow across other markets. I get to positively impact people's lives to where 5, 10, 15 years down the road, I get to have a direct impact on why they were successful by helping them learn certain soft skills and tools in their forever jobs.
Hey, you just remember us when you're in New York and Los Angeles and all those highfalutin places. You just remember us when. This is Hunter. You come down and see Hunter Wiggins down here at Sessions, and this has been another edition of Tuscaloosa Talks.